Welcome to another edition of DX Engineering Videos, and today, welcoming to Tallmadge, Ohio, is Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. Welcome, Don.
Thank you for having me. My first time up here in Northern Ohio, and I got to say, it's pretty cool.
Well, we are really thrilled to have you here. This is a rare evening interview here at the DX Engineering store. But Don, how did you get started in ham radio?
Well, it goes back, what, 40 years now, I guess? 1975 was when I started studying for my ticket, actually in earnest. Before that, I don't know, 72, 73, like any 12, 13, 14-year-old kid, I got bit by the CB radio bug. And so joined a CB radio club in Central Oklahoma, in Shawnee, Oklahoma, where I grew up. And one of the guys that was in the club was a ham. And so I got exposed to it that way. And as a 15-year-old, started studying for my ham ticket. And then, 15, 16, girls and cars get to be a little bit more important than dits and das and electronic theory. So 20 years later, life gets in the way sometimes when you're trying to live life. 20 years later, 1995, we're hanging out with my wife's uncle, who I did not know at the time was a ham, John Carter, KB5TQG. He had this little tiny little handheld radio, and well, that's cute. What is that? Is that for your work? He said, no, that's amateur radio. That's ham radio. I said, really? I was fooling with that stuff 20 years ago. And he said, well, you should get your license. And so, 1995, I got my license, and I hit the ground running. Got involved with Amateur Radio Newsline that year, and now the Ham Nation thing, and it's more than a hobby. It's a huge part of my life now. In fact, my wife has said, all the hobbies you've had, I thought this ham radio thing, oh, okay, he'll be with that 3 or 4 or 5 months, whatever, it won't last till the water gets hot. And 20 years later, I'm doing more stuff now than I ever did with it, and it's changed and enriched my life, and has brought people into my circle that I never would have met, like you, Terry, Bill Pasternak, the late great from WA6ITF from Newsline, and the whole Ham Nation people, and just people that you talk to, make friends all over the world. That's, I guess, in a nutshell, my introduction and how I got involved in ham radio. And now it's, as we say back in Oklahoma, I'm made up with it. I'm made up with the ham radio.
Well, that's a good way to put it. Now, you were around and very close to Katrina.
Yeah, we lost our home in Katrina 10 years ago. We were lucky. We only had 4 feet of water at our house because we lived close to the river and the levee and high ground. But both of my brothers-in-law had 14, 15 feet. And of course, we know what happened there with the levee break. And but yeah, so we were lucky. We only had 4 feet. But yeah, which is why we now live in Mississippi and no longer in Louisiana. We had a ready-made place there, and thank God it was okay. And we evacuated, spent 2 weeks in Little Rock, Arkansas, and came back to Mississippi and have been there ever since.
Wow. Now, your first ham fest that you went to, where was that?
Lafayette, Louisiana.
Okay.
The first big one, yeah, Lafayette, Louisiana, and actually ended up winning an ICOM 738 HF radio.
Wow.
Yeah. And actually, I kind of credit my late mother with that. It's odd. Anytime when I was fooling around with CB radio, we would go to these coffee breaks, and stuff, and there'd be door prizes. And anytime I needed a radio or an antenna or something, I would bring her with me, and she would end up buying the tickets, and we would invariably win whatever it was that I needed. So my first ham fest, I win an HF radio. I'm a technician, not even a Tech Plus, but I've got this nice ICOM HF radio, so we use it at the club for field day and various other things, and I've won 2 or 3 radios at Ham Fest. And in fact, here's a weird story. Going back to the Lafayette Ham Fest, now held in Rayne, Louisiana. This has been several years ago. I was driving home, had won a radio, another one, an ICOM 718, I think it was. I think that's what it was. Driving home, and on my Garmin GPS, I'm on I-12, north of New Orleans, and I see the little town of Lorain. And that was my mother's name. Now, this is I-12, between Baton Rouge and basically New Orleans, the north shore of Lake Pontchartrain. I see Lorain come up on my GPS. I'm like, well, that's cool. I didn't even know that the little town of Lorain, Louisiana existed. let alone was right here. So I get home and I Google map it, and it's not where the GPS said it was. It's actually up near Shreveport. So I think that was Mom going, "That radio."
That radio.
And that's happened more than once. So Mom, thank you.
So you've had a lot of good fortune, certainly on the friendship side.
Yeah.
And had a lot of good relationships with
Yeah.
folks. Now, do you get on the air? Do you have fun on the air?
I love getting on the air. I don't have as much time, sadly, as I would like to, but oh yeah, HF is a ball. D-Star, I'm digging D-Star. I believe there's a new System Fusion Yaesu repeater in the New Orleans area, and that's something that I don't own any Fusion gear, but I want to get some Fusion gear and check that out. So, oh yeah, I love it. I get on the digital modes occasionally. I don't do CW. I went and bought a really nice key in Dayton a few years ago to prod myself into it. You know, you go out and buy a $150 CW key, by God, you better learn it. So I'm working on that. And but no, I love getting on HF. Absolutely love it.
Well, now how about local clubs? Are you a member of a local club?
I'm a non-paying member, kind of on the outskirts of the Pearl River Amateur Radio Club in Pearl River County, Mississippi. I was president of a club in the New Orleans area twice, way back before Katrina. So I just don't have, sadly, don't have the time. You know, with a 15-year-old and a 125-mile commute every day to and from work 5 days a week doesn't leave a lot of time to get out and be active in clubs, but I try to do as much as I possibly can. I'm really active in VE testing. I like to get out and do VE testing. It's a way to give back to the hobby, and for me, it's getting on the air is having a lot of fun. You know, some guys like to do public service stuff, some guys like to do emergency stuff. I like to make new hams. That's the thing for me that gives me the thrill. And being involved with the Young Ham of the Year award with Newsline is another way that I kind of that fulfills me, I think. And so VE testing and working with kids with ham radio is just, it's my thing.
Well, Don, it's been a joy to talk to you here today, and we certainly thank you for all you do with AR Newsline, what you do on Ham Nation, and certainly the VE testing, and we look forward to many years of Don Wilbanks giving us the news, working with propagation on Ham Nation.
Yeah, with Dr. Tamitha Scove. Isn't she a kick?
She is a kick.
We got to work on getting her license.
I think that's going to happen.
Dr. T, are you watching? The gauntlet's been thrown down, honey.
And we hope you had fun today watching another edition of DX Engineering Videos. 73 from DX Engineering.